So, let's say it comes up in your suggested, or you search it up for whatever reason. This has happened to me. It's been suggested. Something like feminist gets owned. Okay? Messages. So right off the bat, okay, let's see. Ben Shapiro, you have Fox News. You have what is considered the right-wing spectrum of thought, right? Okay. Let's see if we can branch out. Okay. This takes us to Fox News. Let's see. Okay, we have another right-wing thing going on. Okay, so we're getting into a spiral. We're getting into a loop. Now, this is fine, right? This is fine, whatever, right? But the thing is, once you go onto the homepage, I don't know what I'm going to have there, so but anyways, once you get onto that homepage, I notice, because YouTube wants you to watch things, they know, they have the data, okay? They're going to recommend you more things on this right-wing spectrum of thought. Now, I have no quarrel with right wing. I have no quarrel with left wing. What I'm saying is that I'm no wing, dude. I'm vegan when it comes to this. No wings for me, okay? I think that people should be more open in thought because, see, this is really dangerous. This is really dangerous because what you're having here now, actually, I think that some of the interesting stuff about, the funny thing about me ending up on this video is that this is a change my mind video, which I think is a good idea to do. It promotes honest communication. But the thing is that when you get into like this spiral, this bubble of videos that are within a particular spectrum, generally speaking, right? That like this type of video I don't think is not bad because I mean he's discussing with people. But when you just get into, friggin' feminist gets owned, Fox News, over and over, this spiral videos, which I've seen it multiple times happen. That's all you're getting. You get this bubble. Now, when you go on Instagram too, any social media, it works the same way. Your explore page, the pages you follow, you are digitally surrounded by people that constantly agree with you, that constantly subconsciously justify your opinion, embed that deeper into you, and then you have like the thing is like let's say look at this conservative Jordan Peterson. Okay, now there's a lot of different things of because of some of the things Jordan Peterson, psychologist, has said. He's often mentioned in a lot of right-wing things. The thing is, I've actually looked into him. He's not really like a right-wing figurehead in any way. He has a lot of interesting psychology talks and everything. But the thing is that when you're in this spectrum of just constantly this bubble, right, of just like, let's say, conservative, and I'll get off the conservative thing. I'm not trying to trash just conservative. But when you're constantly in that spectrum, right, then it paints this image too. Like, look, leftist host snaps. I think I actually watched this. He didn't snap at any point, I think. Anyways, snaps at Jordan Peterson, instantly regrets it. You have this now, somebody that's an intellectual authority figure is now also joined in on the bubble. You only see a sliver of their perspective when it comes to this, and now all of a sudden you feel like everybody agrees with you. Do you know what I mean by that? You're not seeing the depth behind everybody's opinion. You're just seeing the segments that they've had in media that agree with you, and that's all you're surrounded with, things that agree with you, or things that are within that bubble of thought. Now, you could find this with all sorts of stuff. The thumbnail of this is probably a Young Turks thing. And I think I'll just leave it at that. Just with no explanation. I think the picture just whatever. But anyways, so let's say, I don't know, Young Turks things. It's like very different from like Fox News, right? Okay. Once you get into this, I'd bet you get into a lot of the more of the same content. You know what I mean? I mean, automatically CNN is recommended instead of like Fox News. Yeah, what I'm trying to say is that there paints a bubble. There paints a picture. Now, what's wrong with this? I think people should have a level of openness. Okay? Bruce Lee has a quote. Bruce Lee, be like water, my dude. Be like water. Now, this is an interesting thing for me. Okay? Because I didn't understand this quote all the time. And maybe I'll still come to a deeper understanding of it. But what I like is like, be like water. You know what I mean? People are so dogmatic in thinking. They're rigid. You know what I mean? Because if anything comes close to them that challenges their perspective, then it's like immediately, it hurts. It's cognitive dissonance. Have you ever heard of that? Here, look at this. Cognitive dissonance. It's a real thing. Okay, the state of having inconsistent thoughts, beliefs, or attitudes, especially as related to behavioral. That is not the definition I know. Oh yes, here it is. In the field of psychology, cognitive dissonance is the mental discomfort experienced by a person who simultaneously holds two or more contradictory beliefs, ideas, or values, right? So I've heard in other things too how one can register an attack on their personal belief almost like as an attack on themselves, on their own identity, man. This is the problem, man. I think, and that's a huge big topic too, identity, right? Because people identify themselves as something. They identify themselves with their thoughts. They identify themselves with emotions. When in reality, you know, we're all just playing a show in our head, man. We're making color where there is none. We're pointing things here. We have a script and narrative that we're just creating in our head, and we think it's reality. But intrinsically, all of us has a distorted lens. We don't see for anything for how it really is. I mean, just look at magic tricks. They fool you, man. How many magic tricks are happening indirectly just when you look at a person, when you look at this, when you look at that? Now, the dangerous thing about this, though, is that people will sometimes, you know, get very rough with other people is what I mean to say. I don't know where I'm headed with these pages, by the way. Let's see. But maybe I got recommended something here. Or no, I don't know. Anyways, people
everybody's saying
will get mad at other people. They will, you know, attack other people based off of their beliefs, while also simultaneously avoiding any content from them, avoiding any perspective from them. Now, this is really interesting. Okay, so right now, this is just an example. Right now, I'm a little bit undecided on the whole religious thing, okay? I'm just saying that. But when I was a little bit more solid on me being a Muslim, I remember, you know, you would come across anti-Muslim stuff, right? Anti-Muslim stuff. And I remember there was this one guy that, like on Instagram, said something anti-Muslim. And, you know, and I think I just kindly replied to that. And I said that, hey, I'm open to a conversation, you know, because I'd like to change your mind. And he messaged me this excerpt from the Quran, religious text in Islam, and you know, showing that, you know, it was like bad and everything, and saying what is this and everything like that. So I researched it, okay, and by the way, I mean I've grown up with Muslims. I've grown up with Arabic and everything. I'm not Arab, but I've spoken Arabic a lot throughout my years. So, you know, I searched this up from that perspective. He took it out of context, man. First of all, it was in English. You could have 1,000 definitions, right? Well, not 1,000, but still, right? Besides that, it was out of context. There were so many verses before that preluded to that. And taking it out of context completely takes away the meaning from it. This absolutely takes away the meaning. Not to mention that some of the words were conveniently mixed around. So this is interesting because he then didn't know what to say and he blocked me on Instagram, right? But I bet the next time he sees something anti-Muslim, he's going to think, well, is this out of context? Is this really legit? You know what I mean? But he wouldn't have thought that if everybody's just scared. If, you know, because that's dangerous then. When somebody does look at an opposing perspective, well, what they perceive to be opposing, and then they do find that it's wrong, and then nobody from that perspective challenges them on that, then they really just feel like, you know, they know. It's just constant confirmation and justification. It's a game of justification, man. Okay? So, what am I promoting here? Number one, directness. Number one, open-mindedness, my dude. Being fluid. Not being dogmatic in thinking. We got to understand how much psychological manipulation we're subject to. How much, you know, we think we're exempt from a lot of stuff. We think we're seeing everything clearly. We're not, man. We're not. So, that's number one. Number one, open-mindedness. Being open. Being willing, being honest, but also not jumping the gun. Because you could be really honest about something, be really open-minded and honest, and immediately come to an answer. But you want to let it sit. You want to let things marinate. You want to observe. a little bit. Observe. You don't always need to be solid on every single thing. Just observe. Okay? Open-mindedness. That's what I'm promoting. Number 1. Not dogmatic. Mental framework that allows for expansion. Number 2. Directness and honesty in communication. Here's another quick example. Okay? There was a guy actually that I was in contact with. I'd say we're like somewhat friends. More like acquaintances. You know? We have no problem with each other, but it's not like we're buddy-buddy. For no particular reason. Just whatever. Circumstances or whatever. Now, what's interesting is that I remember he said something rude. He was a little bit harsh with me one time. We were working on a theater production. And he said, you know, get off the stage. At one point, I was joking with somebody on stage, and they were trying to start the scene, and it was very hectic. We had 2 casts going, and he kind of roughly said, get off the stage. And I'm thinking, like, this guy, like, immediately, imagine if somebody says that to you, it's like, you feel kind of disrespected. So I kind of joked with him, seeing if that would defuse it, and he kind of remained a little bit serious, and I got off the stage. Now I'm thinking, think about this. In the heat of the moment, you're just like, you know, forget this person. It's easy when you hear all these examples about positive interactions and everything. And it's like, it's not like that. When you're in the actual situation and immediately somebody attacks you, it's like that heat of the moment. You're like, what, am I getting disrespected? That, like, you feel like you need to prove something, you know what I mean? But I thought, I went off the stage and I thought for a second. And, you know, this is one thought that I've been having. You know, it's like, imagine if everybody around you was you. Imagine everybody around you is you watching this, right? Okay, now, imagine everybody around you is you, except all of those other people have alternate timelines of events, different experiences, different thoughts that they're exposed to, and thus different mental formulations that they come up with, but they're still you, right? They still look like you, whatever. Okay, now, let's say that you randomize their body, their ethnicity, whatever. They don't choose it, and it's a randomized thing. Isn't that what we have? In a sense, at the core, aren't we all just human? You know, so I'm thinking, to this guy, it might make sense to him. And now, in the political context, you know, you might, if you're a liberal, and you are anti-Trump, and you see a Trump supporter say something, you know, supporting something Trump said that just makes no sense to you, and you're just like, what is this person talking about, man? What is this, you know, right-wing person talking about? They're being this, they're being whatever. Now, let's say you're a Trump supporter and you see, I don't know, a feminist person saying something, and you're just like, how hypocritical of them, how whatever. So this is this type of situation. I'm just thinking, like, why would this guy be like this rude, especially when I'm nothing but nice to him? So I went to him, and I was with the mindset that, hey, it made sense in his own mind to act that way. Whatever mental process a Trump supporter goes through, whatever mental process a liberal goes through, whatever mental process a feminist goes through, it came to make sense to them. And I really don't think people mean badly. I don't think that they hold an opinion just to harm others. And even if their opinion does harm others, to a degree, I'm sure they came to it through, there's some reason to the madness. Quote by Friedrich Nietzsche. It's like, you know, it's only half of the full quote, but I love the part in it. It's like, there's always some reason in madness. You know, but that doesn't mean it's not madness. But anyways, so I was trying to think, you know, let me have some compassion for this guy. And I went up to him and I calmly said, hey, you know what? I'm asking as a friend. You seemed a little upset, you know, when you said that. Are you okay? This guy, now, you know, I had a different approach that I was thinking of too. I could have went up and say, excuse me, and on the spot too when he said that. I was also thinking of some stuff, but I held back. And I was thinking, hey, let me take this calmly. Immediately, dude, this dude's demeanor dropped. He was like, oh shoot, you know, I mean, imagine. I'm approaching him as a human being. You know what I mean? And oh man, you know, he's a nice guy. I don't want to bore you with the details, but he basically didn't mean badly, and he really didn't mean to be rude, and we ended up shaking hands, a little half hug, and saying that there's no bad blood. Anyways, directness and honesty. Right. That's what that was. That was an example of directness and honesty that I think can translate to so many other aspects of life, including politics. Whatever. But what does that mean? Directness is that you're being direct with somebody. Now, of course, you can ease into topics. You know, you can ease in. You don't need to come in and say, listen, ease into it, right? But you want to get to something. You want to get to something. You're directly talking about something. Honesty is honesty that they don't know, and you're going to let this person know what's up. You're going to awaken this person. That's something I don't like. When people talk about like awakening people, you know what I mean? Not that it's a bad thing. Nothing bad about that. And in a sense, you could say, isn't that hypocritical in me? Or isn't you sharing your opinion some attempt at... For me, this is just sharing perspective, right? I don't want to think of it as awakening, because awakening is as if I'm not asleep. I feel like we're all probably asleep in departments of life. But anyways, honesty isn't, roasting somebody that is wrong or something like that. It's being honest and vulnerable about it, in a sense that you really don't know. But maybe you're probably right in this circumstance, but you can talk to them like a human. You don't need to be rough. You can be honest. Do you see what I'm trying to get at here, though? Instead of confronting somebody harshly, approaching them as if they're a human being, in which their mental capacity, that you only see a sliver of them. You only see a sliver of what they're presenting, not to mention your distortion of reality. So recognizing the depth and humanity within them, approaching them with some degree of compassion and honesty. Isn't that the way to go? Wouldn't that help? And we're not going to have any communication if we're all scared of communicating too, And part of that is also that people don't like confrontation, because people will like roast each other, or they'll roast each other to like oblivion. And like, I'm not going to act like I'm above that or something. But I was thinking about that because I used to actually on social media reply to people on certain political pages. And you know what? Sometimes actually, and of course, you could find, I hate to say it, but like relatively easy targets when you're really sure that somebody's wrong on something and you have everything to back it up. And then I realized, after a few people that you can prove wrong, you can do whatever, and they get mad and you remain calm, whatever. There's more to life than being right. Sometimes, and who says you're right anyway? Anyways, I'm really going off on a tangent here. This video is getting really long. Takeaway points from this video, if you take away anything. Okay? This is it. And thank you if you made it this far. If you take away anything, this is it. These are the few last points. Now, openness, fluidity, being open and honest and malleable in your perspective, but also not jumping the gun. Okay? Next point, compassion for people as individual human beings, while also having a direct and honest approach in communication. Those are the last points. Thank you very much for watching. Really do appreciate it. Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments. Hopefully that's not it doesn't sound like I'm just trying to get more steam going on the video to get more views or something. I'm curious to see what you have to think. Thank you very much.